Standing start, 1 lap.
Standing start?
Yeah.
I have like no torque in rear wheel drive. That's not fair.
That can't be right.
What an awesome car. What's up, everybody? Today we have a real treat in that we have been offered free track time, yes, courtesy of the fine folks at Spring Mountain Motorsports Ranch. Now, the temptation was there to grab a couple of supercars,
of course,
and hit the track, but that doesn't really help you, the viewer.
That's right, so we decided to grab 2 affordable sports cars. Cars you could drive every day to work and whatnot, but then take to a track or maybe to your favorite canyon on the weekend.
I have brought the 2024 GR Corolla Circuit. It's got this new color for this year, and it's one of my favorite cars, bar none, of the last 2 years, coming in at an MSRP of $44,000.
And I have brought the less expensive but less powerful Subaru BRZ TS. Now, the powertrain is the same as the regular BRZ in 86, but the suspension and brakes have been upgraded, so it might be a little bit more fit for track duty. Price, just about $37,000.
With another hour to go before we arrived at the track, we got to know our cars where most owners will spend their time: on the road. Folks, today's video is brought to you by Exter, the makers of those amazing high-tech wallets and their new Finder card. This little black credit card-sized device here is the slimmest tracking device that works with the Find My app for Apple devices. This thing is really amazing. It's the size and shape of a credit card, and you can use it to keep track of your wallet, articles of clothing, or anything you wouldn't want to have the sort of bulk of the standard thick round tracker, right? The Finder card has a loud 75 decibel ringers, so you can ring your item from up to 300 feet away. If you've lost your wallet somewhere in your house and you want to find it, that's what it's for. It's water resistant, it's very durable, and unlike Apple's own tracking devices, comes with a rechargeable battery with a magnetic cable, goes on like that, and a USB cable. It lasts 6 months, no need to replace batteries like those other tracking devices. Hit the link in the video description to learn more about the Exter Finder card today. Thank you to Exter for sponsoring today's video. I love this car. Everything about it is just set up for drivers. It's what that GR Racing brand is all about. It looks vaguely like a Corolla, but underneath it is just so different. 1.6 liter, 3-cylinder turbo engine, making 300 horsepower and 273 pounds of torque, and only 3,200 and change pounds to move around. For 2024, they've added lightweight BBS forged wheels, and we've got Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires. Everything about this says rally, connectedness, and motorsport. I love it. The shifter is crispy, the clutch is light and direct, and the steering is razor sharp, but not too sharp on center to be usable on the highway. Plus, I drove the Marizo one for Road and Track's Performance Car of the Year 2 years ago, and although it was fun on the track, it wasn't great on the street. It was too stiff, too bouncy, and too noisy, and this circuit version is the real sweet spot in the GR Corolla range. Being the circuit version, it has the fancy selectable front and rear limited slip diffs. It's got that torque split. It's got the lightweight carbon fiber roof and those forged wheels, which is really everything you want while still having a practical hot hatchback that can seat 4 people and hold a bunch of stuff. Zack's BRZ may have good balance and even power delivery, smoothness, right? This is like more aggro, wants to jump out of its own tires when boost hits. It's like a stalker that just keeps you on your toes all the time. It's
It's also not bad for crossing Nevada deserts. I find it very easy to sustain really high speeds in this car without it getting upset. Corolla is also very comfortable. It's spacious. I've just driven this thing 4 hours to the middle of the desert, and I am super, super comfy and relaxed. The seat is sporty without being painfully aggressive. It's got tons of leg room and headroom, so even when I put my helmet on, I'll be comfortable. And this steering wheel is the exact right size. Even on the road, I mean, I know 44 grand isn't cheap for a Corolla, but I have to say, it really feels like you're getting your money's worth. We recently drove the $42,000 WRX, and it wasn't quite there for the money. This feels like good value for money. On the street anyway. Let's see what happens when we get to the track.
Or you could save $8,000 and learn the alphabet. TS stands for Tuned by STI. STI, the high performance division of Subaru. 2.4 liter boxer, 228 horsepower, about 180 pound-feet of torque. To paraphrase Henry Ford, you can get whatever transmission you want as long as it's a 6-speed manual. So for all the people out there that complained about car companies that were putting paddle-shifted transmissions only in their fastest track-focused cars, and we all said, why don't you make it with a manual? That's what we want. That's what they gave us. So put your money where your mouth is. If you see a TS drive by on the street, you might not notice it because the exterior changes are very minimal. There's some very small badging changes. That's about it. Different wheels, but you won't really notice if a car's in motion. Inside, kind of the same thing. You get some blue contrast stitching here and there. You get some blue leather on the seats. It's a pretty stealthy look, which I actually like. I think this new 86 BRZ looks really good. It's nice and smooth, and I didn't like the wing that was on the old TS. So what have they changed? Well, it's got bigger brakes, better brakes. We have Brembos front and rear, and the brake rotors are an inch or more larger than the ones in the equivalent lesser 86 or BRZ. And they've changed the shocks, or at least half of them, strangely. The fronts are now Hitachis that are much more refined and much better. They handle high-speed and low-speed compression much better than the standard suspension does. Yes, that Hitachi, makers of the most famous shoulder massager that I've never seen in a video massaging a shoulder. So what it's really about is managing the motion of those front wheels. And I have to say, on the drive out here, both on these desert roads with these rolling troughs and on the broken, cracked freeways of Los Angeles, this car rides great. So good. It's soft enough for that broken concrete, and it's firm enough that it dealt with some of these big dips at high speed, no problem. There are some annoying things though. One, it's loud in here. You might hear that my voice is slightly elevated. I measured it on the way here with a decibel meter app, and it was 74 decibels. This is very noisy. Some of it's tire choice, some of it's the engine, but look, this car is 2,800 pounds. There's not a lot of sound deadening. It's very loud in here, but the stereo can't overcome that road noise. You know, if a song is made up of 10 tracks, you'll hear 2 of them. There's also no lumbar support, which is kind of surprising in a car that costs this much money, and you know the seats are otherwise very comfortable. And also, this glove box sticks out a lot, so my passenger, who is 6'3", had to really bunch his knees up to fit. But music is not what this car is about. This is a pretty simple recipe. And in an era where cars are increasingly more complicated, often to their own detriment, or at least the detriment of the car enthusiast, this carries the torch. Simple, light, fun.
The next morning, we arrived at Spring Mountain Motorsports Ranch, a private racetrack country club an hour outside of Vegas. It's an automotive playground that has over 6 miles of tracks in 30 possible configurations. Spring Mountain's stunning grounds also feature private homes, condos, trackside garages and workshops, and a world-class racing school. They gave us free track time in exchange for that last sentence. Before we race each other for the crown of affordable cars, we had to warm up.
Welcome to Spring Mountain, kids. This is their new circuit. It's called Charleston Peak, and it is fantastic. It's got a lot of elevation. It's got a lot of different types of corners. It's got beautiful curbing, great tarmac, and I have brought the correct vehicle for it. I live the GR Corolla. Everything about affordable, daily usable performance and track competency can be found right here. That 300 horsepower turbocharged 3-cylinder is good enough for a 0 to 60 time in under 5 seconds and a quarter mile in the low 13s. It weighs 3,269 pounds, which in today's world is a lightweight, especially when you consider all-wheel drive cars. And the steering is just super precise and communicative. This circuit version comes with those active differentials, so you can set your torque split how you want it. 60-40 front to rear for everyday driving, 50-50 for optimum track performance, or 70-30 rear if you want to be able to step the back out and move it around a bit. Now, if I'm honest, the oversteer thing, it's a bit overblown. But the balance through the corners is particularly good. For 2024, this car gets the lightweight forged BBS branded wheels from the Morizo, and we've got Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires. So we've got good amount of grip, we've got a good amount of communication. They sing a bit to you. That's good. Talkative Tire is a good car. And the whole thing is just super responsive. Responsiveness is really what you want. Responsiveness is more important than speed, because when you're on the track, you need the car to talk to you. You need it to talk to you through the tires, through the steering, and then you need it to listen to you. When you put your inputs in, I mean, this is when you flick the steering, you don't have to input much steering at all. And actually, the tendency here is towards mild oversteer. So as you weighten up the nose and you flick it, it instantly goes into a mild four-wheel slide. The sharpness of the steering can do that. Fantastic. But what I really like is the inputs. The shifter's nice and crispy. The steering and brakes are very responsive. The gauges are super clear, so I know what's going on. I'm always in tune with what's happening with the GR Corolla, and I like that. I feel like we're having a conversation every corner about what's going on the track, through the wheels and tires. The chassis is very stable and sorted. Now, I like a ragged car, so there's room for a ragged car, but if we're talking about everyday people and track day competency, stability, predictability, those are qualities you're looking for. Particularly this corner right here. It's a big open sweeper, but it tightens right at the midsection. You have to make an adjustment that results in some mild oversteer. Pedals are nicely placed for heel and toe. It's got revs, and when you get these big elevation changes here, like you get on this track, that's when it gets really fun. Look at this back and forth. This thing is so good at it. It really, and this is where the rally car roots come in handy. Over blind crests, full throttle. You can feel the torque moving between the drive wheels as you run up on the corners. It's just epic. Now, what about compared to the BRZ? Well, it's got 72 more horsepower and 89 more pound-feet of torque. Well, that's a lot, but it also weighs 419 pounds more, okay? But the increase in power and torque is enough to still give the Corolla a power to weight advantage. The BRZ is 12.5 pounds per horsepower. The Corolla is 10.8 pounds per horsepower. That plus the all-wheel drive is how you account for the half a second advantage on the 0 to 60 and the 0.6 of a second advantage in the quarter mile that the Corolla has over the BRZ. This car feels like a true GR product. And if you don't know what that means, GR is Gazoo Racing. That's Toyota's in-house racing division. And while they currently sell 3 cars that have a GR badge on them, 2 of them, they sort of just put the badge on for branding purposes. The GR86, which is the Toyota version of the BRZ, and the Supra, which is a lovely car, but we all know it's underneath a BMW. This is a GR product. They took an existing, fairly mundane family hatchback and re-engineered the entire thing with a motorsport focus. It has a unique engine, it has a unique powertrain, it has unique bodywork, it has unique chassis tuning, it has unique suspension. All of those things that I would come to not only expect, but demand for a car called a GR. From a performance dynamics perspective, I would say this is somewhere between the Fiesta ST and the Focus RS, leaning more towards the Focus RS in the speed department, but in terms of fun and usability, it's more towards the Fiesta ST. It has a much better ride than the Focus RS. It's about 300 pounds lighter than the Focus RS. So even though it's down some power compared to the Focus RS, the weight savings and the subsequent ride quality improvement that comes from that weight savings and the final tuning make it better to use every day and just as much, if not more, fun to drive when you're going quickly. 14-inch front brakes with vents. It's a relatively cool day, middle 50s, but we are generating some heat through the tires and the brakes. Now, because it's only got 1.6 liters and 3 cylinders to work with, it's really relying on that boost to make the power. And that means that you don't get any power at all until you get to 4,000 RPM. Toyota says peak torque is at 3,500. I don't really buy it. I think you got to be going a little quicker than that to pull the power out of this motor. Fortunately, here at the Spring Mountain Racetrack, we are between 5 and 7 basically all the time. This track is mainly 3rd and 4th gear with a little bit of 2nd. The crispiness of that shifter really doing it for me. It's got just enough body roll. You know, you want a car that stays pretty flat, but that moves just enough to where you can feel and manage the weight transfer. And the lighter the car, the more you're okay with body roll. Just drove that Panamera, which was very heavy and kept everything very flat. But when a car is light like this, you can have a little more body roll and it's okay. It allows you to play at the limit. What an awesome car. I love this thing. It's the kind of car that an amateur or an expert could appreciate in equal measure. And that's the story of the GR Corolla for a pretty reasonable amount of money. I know $44,000 isn't nothing. That's a lot of money. But that's only $2,000 more than the average transaction price for a new car in America today. For a sports car with this kind of performance, that's good.
One science experiment for the price of 2 normal Corollas. What a deal! What I immediately noticed about this car, and it's the same thing I love about the original BRZ, triplets, FRS, etc., is the mid-corner balance. Your ability to change the car's behavior with a little throttle lift, with a little add of throttle in the middle of a corner. just perfect. Just there on the exit of the corner, I let off the gas a little bit, the back started to slide, the front tucks in. You can make these tiny changes in the corner. It feels really talkative and really responsive. Forgiving, that's the phrase that I would use to describe this car. When you combine the 2,900 pound curb weight with the strong Brembo brakes, you've got a lot of grip from these Michelin PS4 tires. Too much grip, you might say, to have a lot of fun. We'll get to that later. When you combine all those things with the steering rack, which is the right speed, quick but not too quick, it all means that you can change the direction and the behavior of the car in a moment. And it's all happening slow enough, because I don't have that much horsepower, that there's room. It's a great car to learn on, and it's a great car to play with. You know, if you want to go out there and buy a Viper and race it, or any other big power front engine car, you should start with something like this, because this will teach you what the dynamics will be of a car at high speed and in performance driving situations. I know that if I hit the throttle a little too early, it's not gonna snap out on me because I don't have 500 horsepower, but I can do stuff like that. Okay, I know I went in too hot, and then here, tuck it in early, add a little gas, counter steer. This car is really communicative. Through the seat, I can feel what the front wheels are doing, what the back wheels are doing. I can feel how much grip I have left before I'm gonna lose it in either the front or the back. And it makes it really easy to drive right near the limit. It's so good. It's so good. However, I'm not getting a lot of information through the steering wheel. The speed of the rack is right, but there's very little feel from the tires. I cannot tell how much load is on them through the steering wheel the way I can in other cars. So that is kind of disappointing. Shifter is really nice. It's pretty solid feeling. It's not on par with a Honda where, you know, it feels like it's still just solid metal connecting you from shifter to transmission gears, but it's pretty good. I like the distance of the throws. I like the light weight of the shifter. It's light, so it feels like I can move it quickly, but it's not so light and so loose like a cheap BMW shifter, for example, where I don't know where the gear is. It can be very accurate and very quick. As I said, with the TS, they haven't changed a ton of things. The front suspension is new, and what these shocks do is they are very good at both high frequency and low frequency moments. So a low frequency moment is where there's not a lot of bumps in the road. Smooth racetrack, perfect example, where the load being put on the tire happens slowly. There's not a lot of changes in mid-corner. So this shock is slow to compress in an environment like this, and it makes it feel more stiff, and there's less body roll. But it's also good in high frequency situations. So bumpy roads, Los Angeles highways, potholes. That's why the ride out here was really good and fairly compliant. It is a nice have your cake and eat it too situation without needing an active damper, which is usually more expensive and more complicated. While we have those really nice, dual purpose shocks in the front, we don't have them in the back. The shocks are different in the back than the ones you get in the regular BRZ. Subaru told me that. They come from Hitachi, the struts come from Hitachi, and they are tuned by STI, but they are not the same hardware as you get up front. I still don't know why they did that. I will say the thing feels really good out here, but there's just something about it that I don't like. That the front gets these really nice complicated dampers. I can't think of another car where they have said, oh, we got mag ride in the front, but regular ones in the back. Or, we've got KWs in the front, but the backs we didn't change out. And I know his car has about 100 more pound-feet of torque. It's faster to 60. It has way more horsepower. But this thing is a lot lighter, so that it will consume less tire, it will consume less brake. You can brake later in this car. And again, for a good track car, a good race car, weight is the enemy. Honestly, for a good performance car in general, weight is the enemy. I just think of these as two kind of different eras or different answers to a question. If you want outright speed, the Corolla might be the answer, but it's a complicated all-wheel drive turbocharged situation. But if you want just driving fun, usually the kind that we all fell in love with, whether it's drifting or grip driving, this is it. This is what so many of us in the field of automotive journalism are talking about when we say that we want light sports cars that are simple. Manual transmission, easy changes to the tail, that's what we want.
But we are at a racetrack, folks. This is a place where performance is measured. And so Zach and I are going to have a little race. Now, we promised both Toyota and Subaru that we would not do instrumented testing today, so we're not. Though one might argue the human brain is an instrument, we're pretty sure it's not the one they meant. Thaddeus, a Smoking Tire OG and cameraman, would do the honors, counting off our lap times. Zach was up first.
Standing start, 1 lap.
Well, what? Standing start?
Yeah.
I have like no torque and rear wheel drive. That's not fair.
Oh, that's life.
Is it?
Yes.
Damn it.
The races always start on television with a standing start.
That is true. I don't like it.
Yes, it is. I will take you.
I feel like Rudy. Maybe I'll get lucky like he did.
1, 2, 3, go.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Peak power at 7 grand, shifting at 7, third gear corner. Just put the windows up. Track out. Come on! Show them that rear wheel drive is the way to go. These Brembos are good, strong. You can go full throttle early in this car. This corner is interesting. Stay in third here, which it seems like I'm out of the power band, but can't shift mid-corner. Now, flat, full throttle, full throttle. Suspension is pretty darn good. Little brake. This is a big double apex. Can turn into a big drift corner, but I don't want it to. Oh, little hot. Track out earlier. That was not great. Not great. Come on! Put a turbo in this thing, Subaru. What are you doing? This is the fast one. Put a supercharger on it. Something. That's all we want. Such a good platform. This platform was so good, they didn't even have to add more bracing or new bushings for the TS. They kept the same ones as the regular car. It's like a slalom section. Yeah, nice and tidy. And then we go full throttle through these corners because we don't have the power to make it a problem. Pedal spacing could be better. It's a little far away. Down to 2. Oh, I fucked that up. Oh, not good. Too hot, way too hot. I don't know how long this is gonna be. Too long. Oh, maybe he'll miss a shift. Maybe a coyote will run out in front of him. Not so he hits it. I don't want that to happen. Just, it'll slow him down a little bit. It'll be like a policeman. The coyote steps out, says, "Hey, slow down, buddy." He slows down, and then he goes, and you know, he'll come back and ask for another lap, and I'll have to say, that's how racing works.
Before I set off, I had to choose my mood.
Okay, let's make sure I'm in the right mode. Sport mode, track diff, traction, off. All right, here we go. And we're off. One of the things they said was great about this car was you could dump the clutch from redline and have perfect launches every time without smoking the clutch, and I feel like I just did that. All right, let's go. Now we're gonna make it really work for me. Heavy foot, baby. Heavy foot everywhere. She's gonna move a little bit, but that's okay. Get down, get in, get in, get in.
Probably the toughest corner on the track here. Managing this off camber very fast, very easy to overcook. You got to change your angle of attack mid-corner. Yes. Get down late. Look at that. Nice little progressive oversteer from the Corolla. Woo! In early. Banging off the rev limiter once. Love this section. This is where you really earn it. Flat. Big cut here. Into fourth.
89, 90.
Also a big cut. Get down. Go. All right. Felt like a pretty good lap, honestly. It felt pretty clean. There was a couple little sections where maybe I could have shaved some time, but genuinely impressed with the performance of the GR Corolla. This is a fun car to flog, man.
What?
119, 119.
119?
119.
So 119 seconds.
I counted 119.
What did you count for mine? Yes.
Yeah, 118.
I was 118, so I was faster.
Yeah.
Okay.
That can't be right.
Did you win?
Yell down.
According to the human clock,
Yes.
Swiss certified.
which
Yeah.
we
Polish certified.
shouldn't trust, I'll say,
Yeah.
I won
Really?
by a second.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Using the human clock. Now, had we used some sort of digital instrument,
Yeah.
it may have read 6 seconds quicker than the human clock, in which case I would have lost by 6 seconds. But
I
we
see.
didn't do that.
I
Because
see.
we weren't allowed to.
Yes.
So using Thaddeus, who we've trusted since 2009,
Yes.
I won by a second.
Right. Well, the human clock, infallible. Absolutely infallible. And I must accept the results and not the theoretical results of a digital instrument, which would definitely be flawed.
Right, the computer dynamic model we used
Right,
said you'd
right.
be faster by 6 seconds
Right.
per lap.
We're modeling this in ChatGPT.
Right,
That's what
right,
ChatGPT
right.
said.
But if the human clock says so, the non-instrumented testing is what we agreed to.
and you have
that is-
said that humans are better at some things than machines. If you listen to the podcast, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, I bow to the winner, human-timed BRZ TS. And on that completely unsurprising conclusion, let's go home.
All right.
And remember, always fight your tickets on the Off the Record app available in the Android and iOS store, or go to offtherecord.com/TST.
So I win. Right?
Yes.
I win. I was quicker.
Maybe. I don't know.
Based with using a human clock, I was quicker.
This is why you can't trust people.
That's right.
I'll be there in 5 minutes.